Both Christianity and Islam make historical claims that can be examined. Each faith centers on a founding figure whose life can be investigated. Each possesses sacred texts whose reliability can be tested. Today we'll compare the historical foundations of these two faiths. We'll examine manuscript evidence, archaeological confirmation, and historical documentation, not to attack, but to understand what evidence exists for each tradition's central claims. This is historical investigation, not religious condemnation. The New Testament presents Jesus as morally perfect. 2 Corinthians 5:21 states, "For he hath made him to be sin for us, who knew no sin." 1 Peter 2:22 adds, "Who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth." Hebrews 4:15, "We have not an high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin." Christian theology requires Jesus' sinlessness for substitutionary atonement to function. The claim is testable through examining the gospel accounts for moral failures. Islamic texts present a different picture of Muhammad. The Quran itself records instances where Muhammad is instructed to seek forgiveness. Surah 40, verse 55 states, "Ask forgiveness for your sin." Surah 47, verse 19, "Ask forgiveness for your fault." Surah 48, verse 2 mentions Allah forgiving Muhammad's past and future sins. Islamic theology doesn't claim Muhammad was sinless. He's viewed as human and fallible, though uniquely chosen as a prophet. This represents a theological difference in how each faith views its founder. The Gospels record numerous miracles attributed to Jesus: healing the sick, giving sight to the blind, raising the dead. Even John 11:47 records Jesus' opponents acknowledging, "This man doth many miracles." When religious leaders asked Muhammad for miraculous signs, Surah 17, verses 90 to 93 record his response. He indicated his role was to warn and guide, not to perform signs on demand. The Quran itself is considered Muhammad's miracle. This difference in how miracles factor into each faith's founding narrative is worth noting. Muhammad died in 632 AD. The Quran wasn't compiled into a single book during his lifetime. Islamic tradition records that the third caliph, Uthman, standardized the text approximately 20 years after Muhammad's death. According to Sahih Bukhari, Islam's most trusted hadith collection, Uthman ordered variant copies destroyed. This is documented in Islamic sources themselves. The stated purpose was preventing discord over textual differences. Scholars debate whether this represents preservation or standardization through elimination of variants. In 1972, workers renovating the Great Mosque in Sana'a, Yemen, discovered ancient Quranic manuscripts. These date to the 7th and 8th centuries. When scholars examined them, they found what appear to be textual variants. Words erased and rewritten, alternative readings beneath the primary text. Dr. Gerd Puan, who studied these manuscripts, noted they suggest a more complex textual history than traditionally claimed. This doesn't prove the Quran is unreliable, but it does indicate some textual development occurred. Muslims and scholars continue to debate the significance of these findings. Let's compare manuscript numbers. As we discussed in Episode 1, the New Testament has over 25,000 ancient manuscript copies. These allow scholars to compare variants and verify accuracy. Early Quranic manuscripts, those dating before the 9th century, number fewer than 20 significant fragments. The earliest complete Quran manuscript dates to approximately 150 years after Muhammad. This doesn't prove either text is more or less reliable, but Christians argue the New Testament's abundance of early manuscripts provides superior verification capability. Islamic sources document aspects of Muhammad's life that some find challenging. Sahih Bukhari records that Aisha was betrothed at age 6 and the marriage consummated at age 9. This is from Islam's own trusted sources. Medieval standards differ from modern ones, and defenders note this was culturally acceptable at the time. Critics argue that if Muhammad is held up as the eternal moral example for all time, his actions should transcend cultural context. This remains a point of discussion between Muslims and non-Muslims. We present this neutrally. It's documented in Islamic sources and continues to be discussed. Islamic history documents that Muhammad led military campaigns. the Battle of Badr, the conquest of Mecca, and numerous other conflicts are recorded in Islamic sources. Muslims view these as defensive actions or responses to persecution. The historical record shows political and military leadership was part of Muhammad's role. Jesus' ministry, by contrast, contained no military component. When Peter drew a sword to defend him, Matthew 26:52 records Jesus saying, "Put up thy sword." This difference in approach, military leadership versus non-violence, distinguishes how each faith began. Islamic theology teaches that salvation depends on good deeds outweighing bad ones. However, Surah 3:129 states, "He forgives whom He wills and punishes whom He wills." Allah's ultimate decision remains His prerogative. Surah 46, verse 9 records Muhammad saying, "I do not know what will be done with me." This suggests even the Prophet lacked absolute certainty about his eternal destiny. Many Muslims focus on Allah's mercy and hope for paradise, but certainty remains elusive within this framework. Christianity offers a different framework. 1 John 5:13 states, "These things have I written unto you that believe on the name of the Son of God, that ye may know that ye have eternal life." The word is no, not hope or maybe. Christians believe certainty comes not from performance, but from Christ's finished work. John 10:28 records Jesus saying, "I give unto them eternal life, and they shall never perish, neither shall any man pluck them out of my hand." This assurance is based on Christ's promise, not human achievement. Islam's 5 pillars require ongoing performance. The Shahada, Salat, Zakat, Psalm, and Hajj are obligations that demonstrate submission. Christianity teaches that Jesus' death on the cross accomplished what human effort cannot. John 19:30 records Jesus' final words, "It is finished." Ephesians 2:8 and 9, "For by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast." These represent fundamentally different soteriological frameworks. Christians point to several factors supporting their convictions. The abundance of early manuscript evidence for the New Testament, archaeological confirmation of gospel details, non-Christian historical sources confirming Jesus' crucifixion, the transformation of disciples from fearful to bold, willing to die for resurrection claims, the empty tomb that even opponents acknowledged. These historical data points lead Christians to conclude the biblical account is reliable. The framework of grace through faith aligns with what they believe happened historically. For viewers examining both traditions, we encourage thorough investigation. Compare the manuscript evidence objectively. Examine what each text claims and whether historical evidence supports those claims. Consider which framework better explains human moral failure and divine remedy. Read the Gospels and the Quran firsthand. Christianity stands or falls on historical events, particularly the resurrection. If Jesus rose from death, his claims about being the only way warrant serious consideration. Truth-seeking requires following evidence, not just tradition. In our next video, we'll examine Christianity compared to Hinduism. What does Hinduism teach about God, karma, and reincarnation? What archaeological evidence exists for Hindu historical claims? How does Christianity's concept of resurrection differ from reincarnation? We'll maintain our evidence-based, respectful approach. Comparing belief systems helps clarify what distinguishes Christianity. Subscribe to continue this investigation. Islam and Christianity make conflicting historical claims. Either Jesus was crucified or he wasn't. Either he's God's son or merely a prophet. Either salvation comes through grace or through works. Christians believe the manuscript evidence, historical documentation, and archaeological confirmation support the biblical account. We respect Muslims' sincerity while holding firm convictions, based on what we believe the evidence demonstrates. May all truth seekers follow evidence wherever it leads.